Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Return Podcast. This is Marilyn Fontaine. This is season 4, episode 6, Soft Power and Creative Authority. Do you know how many times I've tried to record this episode? It's been a while, first of all, because the last time I recorded and uploaded, it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it has been Leo season. It has been my birthday month, and I've been really busy, and so much has happened. So, this is why I haven't recorded a podcast. Also, recording a video is so much more problematic because I get into myself about what constitutes a good video, and I've noticed the sound on the videos are not as good. However, for this season, this section of episodes, I'm gonna be continuous. I want continuity. So at least for the first 6 episodes of this season, I want to make sure that it's video format. So after this episode, oh my God, I'm in public, so you're going to get public real life noises. After this episode, I might go back to just recording. Who has a car like that? I don't know. This is probably noise cancelling, but after this season, after these 6 episodes, I might go back to just audio. I'm just going to see how it sits with me, with the current energies that are happening. But anyway, this is where we are. This is what I'm doing. It's been a really busy, in terms of my commercial practice. So when I'm talking about commercial practice, I'm talking about clients and collectors buying artwork. It's been really busy. I've been doing a lot of commissions. I did a public engaged two workshops for Museum X, and in collaboration with New African Caribbean Reference Group. So I did a talk based upon my documentary, my audio documentary on the Black workers of Tent Lyle. Also did a workshop around it. So it was really good. So that's what June and July, obviously, I had to do. And then off the back of that, I had to do paintings and commissions and stuff. So I can't complain. And it's a really good way of continuing my art business because most of my work is public art. I need to still make sure that people are buying my artwork because it's an art practice, right? And it's also got me thinking, especially in today's episode, about creative authority. And as much as I do public artwork, and I am blessed to be able to have a socially engaged artwork. I'm in the studio, obviously, I'm not at home. Um, I still want to make sure that the public part of my work and the commercial, when I talk about commercial, I don't mean commercial in loads of commercial stuff. I mean in terms of people buying um, a product from me, to make sure that the main reason people that look like me can buy work of people that look like them. That's not just to say my work is closed to just people of African Caribbean, but available to everybody, and it is because people buy it from every walk of life. But just to make sure it reaches those people of the global majority or global minority, I don't know what it's called, um, they have access to the work. So that's why I have prints or a payment plan on my originals. So most of my collectors are coming back and they're asking for things. So um, it's really good that that creative authority can still be there without just having to rely on money for commissions and public engagement. I don't know, galleries and stuff. What I will say as well is that most artists, sometimes they're just waiting for galleries to pick them up without creating a relationship with their collectors and buyers. And this is not the way to go if you want to survive and be a full-time artist creator. I just wanted to share that, but we're going to cover that more in the episode. Um, But I want to talk about soft power and creative authority. I've got notes here because I'll forget it. Last month I spoke about the creative ordinary, or the sacred ordinary, I would say. And when I think about the timeline of the ordinary, but ordinary living, the solitude, the quietness, just growing my vegetables, preparing my garden in the spring for the summer. And when I look out into my garden and I see tomatoes, runner beans, not much runner beans because it's just been too hot here in London. But when I look at the garden blooming and all the plants and flowers just blooming now, and realizing actually at the beginning it just feels barren, it just feels slow, and how important it is to have this growth and this expansion from the seeds and the fruits of my labor. Hands has just got all paint on them. Um, just like sacred order, what it leads to this blossoming, and it leads to this feeling of fullness and, greatness. When I think about at the beginning of the year, do my exercise program. All right, I haven't exercised for about 4 weeks, but I still feel good and in shape, right? My shoulders still feel good. And how much that prep, like the seeds, have really been important. And then we're coming to autumn now where things will start to slow down and we will collect the fruits of our labor, like the harvest time. And incidentally, I've got my supper club in September, which I can't wait. And how that is important. But when I talk about the sacred ordinary, how the everyday really helped. And it leads into the segment of this episode of soft power. And when I think about soft power, I've been observing the word flaneur. I've been researching the flaneur, a French term for, I don't know, wanderer. I probably got it wrong, but I put a link in the bio of an article about a flaneur, what it means. And I was just observing people. I'm not sketching them down, but I'm observing people in my relationships or people that I'm around or people that just come into my orbit, and how there is a drive, especially on social media, to be this powerful person on screen. But when you see the person in real life and when you look at their actions, especially as I deal with the observer and how the perception of what power is. So people think that someone is powerful by how they look externally, by what they wear externally, what their home looks like externally, the words they say, who they associate themselves with. That is just social commodity, or that is just social placement. It's not power. Power is being able to know your strengths and your weaknesses, where you seek validation and where you can pull yourself back up and think, actually, I don't need to do that. It's being able to be in your solitude, to be in your silence, and to create a body of work, whether that's in a 9-to-5 job or that's at home, or just create a sense of beingness where you feel self-supported, you feel good in yourself, rather than having to rely on externals and to get validation from externals because of how you look, because of how you want the world to perceive you. That isn't power. That creates a disempowered bodied person. And what that disempowered bodied person does, they separate people. They separate themselves from people. They don't really have compassion. They have performative compassion. They have performative creativity. So it's like, this is what I can do. But it's not like that diamond. It's not like that creative, that creative energy where it's created in the darkness, in the silence, in the solitude, in the community, in a collective community. It's not extractive, nor is it exclusive, nor is it isolating. It's something that is done in collaboration with your peers, or at least a love of your peers. It's not excluding, and it's not from an exclusive place. The only exclusive club you need to belong to is you, your guys, and your ancestors. That's it. The creator. which is the overall thing. But this exclusivity isn't it? It's not power. It's anything but power. So when I talk about soft power, I'm talking about, because I have to put a list, it's the stillness. It's also your noise. It's your self-acceptance. It's patience and impatience. So it's polarity, it's being in those polarities and understanding, okay, I'm being impatient. What do I need to do to be in patience? So you're kind of self-parenting yourself. That is soft power. Self-compassion, as well as compassion for everything else, but it's an external. It's definitely self-expression. But self-expression really comes when you have self-acceptance. So you don't need validation. And when I find myself wanting to have validation, I know I'm not accepting myself. Because we want to connect. The human has a desire to connect. The human has a desire of belonging. But that only happens when we can really find ourselves, and we don't want to be the expert in everything. There's a difference between wisdom and expertise. Expertise is very born into a very male focused environment. Come on, lights. Oh, these lights. Okay, I've got motion lights in the studio. So it's born from a patriarchal, we're the expert here. This came in when the constructionist anthropologists came in, and they went into different villages and wrote theses on how these villages were primitive and what was artifacts and what was art, and what was the reductionist anthropologists. So, again, the Darwinists and all these kind of people that was telling the world, this is right and this is not. I'm the expert here because I've observed these primitive people, and this is what I've done, basing it upon my own expertise. What I'm saying is it's not about being the expert. It's about tapping into the wisdom. And that comes when you reach your age maturity, because you've had lived experience and you've also had the time to make mistakes. Okay. So it's not the most popular, it's not the most creative. Listen, people say, oh my God, you're so talented. Where does your art come from? It comes when I'm in my humility. It comes when I'm in my pain, as much as I don't want it to be in my pain. But my best works come within my pain. Also, they come when I'm in love. Now I'm in love with life, but I prefer that love of romantic love because it hits, it crushes that part inside of me, that's something about that pressure, that emotional pressure that releases everything unlike itself. It taps into the seed of creation, and it's not what we want, but it does inspire. This is why everybody says, Mary J. Blige creates her best albums when she's had a breakup. Sad but true. So these things are all about this soft power. And that soft power is that moment when you're just out. I went to the Roots picnic at the weekend. Oh my God, that amazingness. For me, actually, it was the togetherness and welcoming in these creatives, holding spiritual space for them. That was really important for me, more than just the experience. And how everybody came together as a consciousness. That was really important for me. Being a Leo, it was almost as if I was tapping into my opposite, which is the Aquarius energy, and just tapping into that global energy of love. And I did go into my Leo space, and I left my friend and went around going to the front and just absorb poetry, but the spiritual experience I always get in concerts. It's unbelievable. I like to create the space for everyone, and then I like to go into my zone and just engage with the energy of what the artist is projecting out there. So, but anyway, so that's really important. So when I think about soft power, again, I think about my self-authority framework, which is about the existentialness of self-authority. So it's about finitude, knowing that we've got a time limit. Like on earth, this is, the fact we're going to die is a given. So being present, what can I do with this time? Especially when you're in second life, right? Which I call second life. Freedom, that I do have a choice. The freedom to choose. Okay, I've got a choice to stay here and be stuck, or try to please everybody, or please myself. And what am I here for? This time that I have, what am I here for? What am I here to do? To understand about isolation and solitude. Which one am I going to choose? So I've experienced, which I did experience, some really strange, what I wouldn't say strange, interesting behaviors from some beings. And it was, for me, the antithesis of community and connection. It was separative and exclusivity. And it tapped into a feeling of isolation, of why can't everybody just get along and be together? But it actually tapped into, what am I running from? Because these people are just being themselves, and tapped into my isolation. What did that mean to me? And actually, I'm not isolated. I can be in solitude, and I can choose my freedom. I can choose to be around these people or not. I can take myself out and create my own spaces, go back to creating my own spaces, rather than trying to be in a space with people that my intuition told me it's not your people. It's just not your people, but who they are is who they are. But it's just not where you are at the moment. I'm in the presence of building community and connection, and creating that safe space for other people that desire that are real and authentic. Authenticity. Like, are you exhibiting that soft power, or are you exhibiting the not self, what we call in human design? When you're those people that you're not really feeling your power, so you're projecting everything that appears to be what you would say is soft power. So, and so meaninglessness again, so meaningful. What is meaning in your world? And that means your everyday, because if you're not exhibiting your authentic soft power, what are you? That means there's a part of you that believes what you're doing is not got meaning. So you're coming out of your authenticity, and you're bringing your representative. Because if life has meaning, you'll be open and expansive. You'll be real. And what I mean by that is, there's a joke. There's two things. There's a joke what we used to say back in the day when I was studying art, and we used to say people are wearing their Covent Garden clothes. And what that meant was, when people would go to Covent Garden, which was like Covent Garden and Camden was like the epicenters of London. And obviously you had King's Road, but King's Road was more kind of punky, raw, edgy. But Covent Garden was like, I'm dressing up my Covent Garden clothes. And us in art school used to laugh at that, because people dress up. And it's like when people are going to festivals and stuff, they dress up in their festival clothes. I'm playing creative. And then they go back into their suit wearing. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just really like I'm wearing a representative of being cool, right? I notice this as an artist. Sometimes I'll just be wearing my overalls or t-shirt and jeans. Actually, if I'm wearing my overalls, people will be like, are you an artist? Whereas if I'm just wearing my jeans and stuff, oh, oh my God. Oh my God. This is hilarious. What's happened is, as I'm doing this podcast, there has been an emergency signal saying there's an increasingness of wildfires, and that we should not create activities that are going to create wildfires. At first, I thought it was my phone overheating, because this phone does. Oh my God. So can you see, now we've signed up for alerts. There's alerts around. Anytime we can just have alerts. It's very big brother. Anyway, interesting, because I can't remember signing up for alerts on this phone. Sorry about that, but it's real. This is real time. So soft power, which I call my self-authority framework, is finitude, knowing that there is a limit to certain things. Freedom, knowing that you have a choice. Being able to be in solitude. So sometimes you're going to need to be within yourself. This is where you get your personal power, in your solitude. It's not isolation. Isolation is when you're in the house and you're not going out. But you know, but solitude is knowing that you need time to be in yourself, to be with yourself, and be with, like I'm in my studio, this is a public building, this is my solitude, my work. However, that's why I love public engaged work and also workshops, because I think they're really important to build that public, that community feel. So even though I'm doing an exhibition with a gallery, I think having a workshop is really important to engage the public with your work. And meaningful. So what is have meaning and meaning, I'm sorry to say, what has meaning in your world? And if you find that your world doesn't have meaning, what can you do to bring that into your meaning? What's important? What will bring meaning for you? And if you find that you're stuck, I have in September, was a brilliant segue. I have in September the return cohort. So it's now monthly, because a lot of people don't have the time to be part of a 6-week program. So I have it's 6 months from September to February, but it's seasonal. So every month we have a theme. So it's once a month, and it's a gathering for those of you who kind of lost your way, or you've got time on your hands, or in this second life, but you really want to tap into those pillars of self-authority. You really want to tap into what has meaning for you, as opposed to what doesn't have meaning. Also, you feel isolated because you find you've got a lot of time on your hands, or you just don't resonate with people, like your peer group, or you're finding yourself around these people that I spoke about that are trying to get validation outside, or wearing these creative jackets, and you're creative anyway, but you just want to be with real people. You just want to connect with humans that think like you, who are still exploring like you. And you just want to be in a space with people that are going to accept you for you. If that resonates with you, then the return is going to be a really good space for you. And with me, it's not going to be a structured space where this is what we're going to do, but it's going to be a container. And one thing I have about my containers is that my containers, they're really a safe space where you feel nourished on all levels. I don't have no bullshit. I don't have nobody wearing their fancy creative or spiritual coats. It's none of that. You won't be it does not belong here. What we want authenticity, we want self-compassion, we want compassion and kindness. The very thing that I have on my weekly groups on Insight Timer. Very, very, very clear about that. So if that resonates with you, the return. Okay, so let's go into creative authority, because it is the sister and it is the second part of creative power. My paper has just fallen on the floor. Anyway, my studio, my party, I can do what I want. Creative authority. I touched a bit about it when I said about, for me to create a I used a word when I did my practice run. It's a product, but it's not a product. So when I do my public engaged art, sometimes I don't have like a print or a book, a publication that goes with my socially engaged art. And it's something I really want to create, and I want to write into my manifesto that whenever I create something public, like a documentary, that I create either a still, either a picture or a publication that goes with it. So then it's what we would call, why has it escaped me? It's like a product, but it's not so much a product. It's like an intellectual property, but it's not that either. It will come to me. But I'll say product for now. So I'm going to create a product because the product is part of the experience. And I did touch on it when I said about creative authority and having a workshop that accompanies most exhibitions I do, or a talk, because I feel like my creative authority is about being a voice, the truth teller, the voice of the community, or to the space holder that brings that together. This is why I do supper clubs. And I think it's really important that my work is not just about my work, it's about the viewer, that experience, and the experience of the people I've interacted with that goes into my work, right? And so creative authority to me is setting the rules of what I want my creativity to be. And because my work is a socially community engaged work, and sometimes I don't like to use the word community because it comes with a price tag, and it also comes with some judgment from the external world. So social, I love that term. It resonates with me. It rings. However, creative authority to me is about what we put on our creativity, and it isn't my creativity is something that is accepted by mainstream. Your creative authority can just be how you create food. It could be how you bring people into your home. It could be how you deal with that in your home. But for me, it has to have a level of self-acceptance, because if your creative authority is just by what the external world is saying, what the exhibitions are saying, what the galleries are saying, what the art critics are saying, then again, you are just being another sheep. And for me, I want to create that movement where creativity becomes part of a social practice. It becomes part of what the people, the grassroots people, are terming creativity. So if you want to be painting just to explore with painting for yourself, or you want to get a sketchbook and go and be a flaneur and observe the world and sketch, then that is your creative authority. But let that be defined and belong to you. However, there is a caveat with that, is that while you're defining it with yourself, don't try to judge other people based upon whether they're in a gallery or they've exhibited or they're selling their work to collectors. Don't judge another person. It's also, don't try to label an artist into a box. Don't try to do that, oh, you're this because you're that. Because if the same way you're labeling and judging an artist, it will be a mirror how you label and judge yourself. So your creative power is how you show up for yourself. And that is, the first steps is allowing yourself your creative power to play. How you allow yourself to express yourself without limits. Go to a gallery, read the artist's way. Where's my artist's way? It's not as at home. Read the artist's way, but just don't let that define you. Allow yourself to be curious. Bring curiosity into your world. Because if you don't bring curiosity into your world and wonder, you're not going to get that divine inspiration to come down. So it's really important. Your creative power belongs to you, but you have to make sure that your creative authority, that your soft power is activated. And if you don't know where to find that, you can join my free classes on Insight Time on a Thursday, which is Second Life, Second Act creative classes, or just go on YouTube and experiment, get some paints. But in community is really important. It's really important that you be in community, because there's something about bouncing off people that just allows your part of yourself to be connected. It's that self-connection again. It's, you can be solitude, but it's also not isolation. Isolation breeds something else. It just breeds negative self-talk sometimes, whereas if you've got a place to be witnessed, your strengths and your weaknesses are witnessed in community, then there will be more care, more connection, more of a space to thrive. I've run an Insight Time group back for a year, and I've had people that have published work, got work together, started to paint again, felt connected. And I think that's so important. So you don't have to pay. My Insight Timer group is free, but we will be doing these activities, maybe these curious questions in the return cohort as well. So there's spaces where you can thrive, where you're not having to pay money. So really important. So let me know how you found this episode. So what are you going to do? The question is, what are you going to do to activate your soft power or your soft power? And how are you going to bring in or bring alive your creative authority? It is extremely hot here. It's 38 degrees, but I'm not too hot, but I've had to have the windows closed because I'm doing this podcast episode and my beautiful phone has not overheated. So I will see you next week. And next week's episode is meant to be every 2 weeks, but I'm going to, I'll say the next episode will be what I've learned, because it should be, it'll be in 2 weeks. And that is what I've learned with the return podcast and my experience over summer. So I will see you. Drop a line, drop a note, let me know how you're getting on with the questions and how you find the podcast. And don't forget to rate it and, have some more comments. This is Marilyn Fontaine. I'm signing off from my studio. Bye for now.